The Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning and welcome to the Handicappers Report on this Saturday morning. I'm Seth Merrow, colleague Anthony Mormito. On vacation this week, so I'm solo, which is fine. I'll take a look at some Oaklawn today, but we also have a couple of Saudi Cup card races in the mix. Let me remind you that the doors have just opened right here at the Clubhouse Racebook, so you can come down and enjoy the Saudi Cup card action. It'll be highlighted at 12:35 by the $20 million Saudi Cup itself. Taba Country Grammar over there. There are Americans kind of throughout the card. Elite Power, Gunite in the sprint should be fun. But as I say, we open early here at the Clubhouse Racebook just now, 9 o'clock. You can come down and enjoy all this action on the Saudi Cup card and complimentary breakfast while supplies last. So should be a lot of fun. We'll talk Saudi Cup top of the hour as well on Racing Across America at 10 o'clock. Dick Powell will join us. Dick did the morning line for the Saudi Cup, so I thought we'd reach out to him and get some thoughts on the last four. Will still be coming up when we plug him in at 10 o'clock. We'll hit on the turf handicap, the Saudi Derby, the dirt sprint, and the Saudi Cup with Dick. We'll also talk on Racing Across America with Nancy Holthus, because it's a really good day down at Oaklawn as well. They've got some nice stakes action highlighted by the Rebel for the 3-year-olds. So we march along the Derby Trail, the Derby's Trail, I guess, onto the Arkansas Derby and then on to the Kentucky Derby. But it's a nice day down at Oaklawn, racing-wise. So Nancy Holthus will join us as well. That's all coming up at 10. In the meantime, again, I'm going to look at some Oaklawn. I'll kind of kick the show off in a few, because we're just a few minutes away from this upcoming third in Saudi Arabia. And 11-horse field in the Turf Cup. What do we have? $1.5 million up for grabs. Current favorite is the number 6, Missed the Cut. Hasn't been seen since November at Lingfield. That means on the synthetic there, but has a turf record that shows some nice efforts, certainly. So the number 6 is the horse that is taking the action. I thought John Gosden, the number 7 horse, was a little bit intriguing, perhaps. Tossed in a clunker when last seen at Longchamp in the big race, but prior to that had run decently, and you always have to pay attention to John Gosden, and I thought that one 4-1 now as the co-second choice, also with the 9 Sir Busker. Horse I thought might be a little bit interesting, coming out of a win early in January right here on this race course, was number 10, Star of Winds. We're currently looking at 35-1, so if you wanted to play around with a little bit of a price, that's the horse that might be a little bit intriguing from that aspect. But again, nice field of 11 set to line up. Looks like a pretty good crowd there in Saudi Arabia. Again, a little bit later on, we will have the turf sprint will come up next. That'll be race number 4. Race number 5 is the turf handicap. Which again looks like a nice full field, and there should be some good betting opportunities in there. Start to see some Americans in race 6, the Saudi Derby. Having a meltdown is coming over for Bob Baffert. Frankie Dettori set to ride. Again, that'll be the race 6, the Saudi Derby. Race number 7 is the dirt sprint, and there's some Americans in there, including the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, Elite Power. Bill Mott trainee, Frankie Dettori will be on board there. Tyler Gaffleone will be on board. Gunite for Steve Asmussen in the sprint, and the day will wind up. Again, it'll go off our time at about 12:30. The $20 million Saudi Cup And the Americans in there, Taba and Country Grammar. Country Grammar a close-up second in this race last year and then went on to win in Dubai. Taba coming out of the win in the Malibu to complete his 3-year-old season. So both going out for Bob Baffert. Frankie Dettori on board Country Grammar. Mike Smith on Taba. So fun morning into early afternoon, Saudi Arabia. And we'll be plugging in those races in these two shows, this and Racing Across America. There's a 9:05 start coming up. We'll head to that. 9:45 for the turf sprint, and then during the 10 o'clock Racing Across America, we'll also have the 10:25 turf handicap. So I'll step back and send you to this third race. Again, it is the Turf Cup. Current favorite, number 6, Missed the Cup. Again, I thought 7 from John Gosden was a little bit interesting at a price. Maybe the 10 could be an intriguing player. We'll see how it all plays out. And I will come back and kick off the actual handicapping here on the Handicappers Report after they wrap things up this mile and 5/16 turf event, race number 3 from Saudi Arabia on Saudi Cup morning. Don't forget, we're open early here. If you want to come down and join us here at the Clubhouse Racebook, the doors are now open. So you can see all the Saudi Cup action from here on through the Saudi Cup itself coming up a little bit later on. 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Love to have you come down and visit. Otherwise, let's go to the races. I will come back shortly after the completion and kick into a really nice Oaklawn card for today. Stay tuned. The Handicappers Report continues.
With White Moonlight going forward, I hadn't thought of that Godolphin angle as regarding White Moonlight helping the cause of Dubai Future, but it's certainly one to throw into the mix, I think.
I mean, I know they don't necessarily want to run all their horses against each other, but there was the perfectly good Group 2 Balanchine for the fillies last night in Dubai, and yes, an owner mate of Charlie Appleby's, White Moonlight, won it, that she had finished second to behind Cape Verde last time out. They probably wanted to try and separate them, so then they come to a different country to race against Dubai Future, who is the proper horse that he's good in Dubai, but he almost seems to be better when he travels throughout the Middle East to other countries, as we see Mostadaf there representing John and Thady Gosden. He's a gorgeous, gorgeous looking horse, and he won the September Stakes, which you have to remember, that's a race that John Gosden particularly absolutely farms. He's won it 4 of the 5 years. It's a race that he typically uses with his horses as a stepping stone to international competition, most notably in 2020 when Enable made her belated comeback there before going to win her second arc and subsequently the Breeders' Cup Turf. So it's very much a race like that. The one problem was watching him at Kempton. He just looked a bit slow over the 2,400 meters, that now back on the turf over the 21. I know he's won over 16 and 2,000, that this trip shouldn't be a problem, but on the basis of that last run, I just wonder if he just has the pace now that like a Missed the Cut would have in the final furlong or so, just that extra gear to go and collect the prize.
Some signs that Sabuska is subject of a lot of support in the World Pool, which may well help the price for Missed the Cut. Sabuska is a smashing horse. He is a strong physical, and he's a strong finisher when everything is right. But that tendency to start slowly is a bit of a concern. He was drawn on the wide outside at Lingfield last time. Hello, we've got more problems with one at the gate here. We'll pick that one up shortly. It was number 8. Oh, Peter the Great is really in a mood today, both in the pre-parade ring and down at the gate. So he's causing a bit of a kerfuffle there. Nick Child, our colleague in Hong Kong, reports that Mostadaf has been the subject of a lot of support from 6.8 down to 3.9.
And I just wonder if some of that is literally in the last 30 seconds or so. Lord North, the 8-11 favorite, just won the Group 3 Winter Derby, doing handsprings for John and Thady Gosden.
Lord North dead heated with a horse called Pantherassa in the Dubai Turf. Pantherassa contests the Saudi Cup later on. Plenty of confidence behind Mostadaf for the Gosdens. I think he's high on the short list with Missed the Cut. So great to be into the meat of this card now. We've got a big handicap, a rich Arabian race, but we now have a very significant gamble going on in Whirlpool terms. It takes a lot of money to shift a horse from 6.8 to 3.9. Correction, 3.5 now, Mostadaf. Missed the Cut, plenty of playing up here. He's a little bit edgy, but something probably Peter the Grey and his antics setting a few of the other thoroughbreds off here, Rachel.
Yes, definitely. And Peter the Great has been dismounted down at the start by Camilio Spina, who is a 6-time champion jockey here in Bahrain.
This horse is in a hell of a bad mood. I think he may about to be withdrawn. Confirmation in a minute, but the jockeys in the gate here are not happy, Rachel. Listen to the racket that the jockeys are making. So we'll be away in a minute. I think it's time we threw to Richard Hoyles. This is Mr. Cut. Ashim Murphy's trying to keep this horse away from the moody Peter the Great. Handlers are now trying to get him towards the gate. The problem for a few others is they've been in the gate for a long time here,
yes.
Rachel, haven't they? 8, Peter the Great has been scratched. No wonder. He has given a very, very bad-mannered performance in the preliminaries. But jockeys hate being in the gate for 3-4 minutes. It's more than enough time for certain horses to lose focus, to use valuable nervous energy. Mr. Cut is going to be last in of the ones that remain. He's used up a bit of energy, but I would be quite happy that he's not been in the gate for 3 or 4 minutes like a few of his rivals.
No, absolutely. The one thing was when we go to Richard and we jump, keep an eye out on stall number 8. That's where Sir Busker is. The worst thing is the longer he's in the gate, the more he just cocks a hind leg and goes to sleep. So this might just not suit him, although he is sort of rocking and rolling in the gates there.
Mostadaf has been crunched. Here we go with Richard Hoyles.
Set 2,100 metres and they leave the stalls. Missed the cut, got out okay, but not as well as Byline, who's one of the first to show. Dubai Future also adopts a handy position with Mostadaf as they race through the first furlong or so. So with 200 metres under their belt, it's the green jacket of Eagle's Flight who leads them past the winning line, tightly bunched with Mostadaf in second, blue with the white, and then the next two are Godolphin runners, Dubai Future on the inside of White Moonlight as they prepare to take the turn away from the stands. Byline, having jumped well, settles. Has missed the cut, is forced wide round that first turn, right at the back with Sir Busker in a steadily run early race. On the inside races Castle towards the back as they're now preparing to turn and enter the back straight. And it's Eagle's Flight out in the lead under Mikel Barcelona, who has the advantage by just over a length from Mostadaf on the outside of Dubai Future, racing in second and third. Missed the cut, circling the field under Oisin Murphy. Had a pretty tough trip in the early stages, but has moved forward to sit in around about 4th or 5th place on the outside of White Moonlight. Who Stars wins. Also wide on the course is Sir Busker in a tightly bunched field. Byline is towards the inside, then behind these Flying Visit in the orange, and still towards the back is Sir Busker on the outer as they're preparing to turn now and enter the final 800 metres in the Neon Turf Cup. Out in the lead, it is still Eagle's Flight. Has that advantage by a length from Mostadaf in second. Dubai Future on the running rail in third. Missed the cut, continues to make ground. Right round the outside in the maroon jacket, gone past White Moonlight. On the inside, sitting and having to wait for room is Byline as the race develops. Who Stars wins. Flying Visit makes ground amongst runners for Ricardo Ferreira. They're on the home turn, 500 metres to travel. Every step has been led by Eagle's Flight. Mostadaf will have first crack at the leader. Missed the cut, is now under pressure and has been passed by Dubai Future as they set up at the top of the home runner. Mostadaf has laid out his stall. He's quick and 3 lengths clear. From in second place, Dubai Future, then missed the cut, just the one pace. But Mostadaf at the 200 has burst clear and is striding further and further away. Dubai Future in second. Daylight back to third with Flying Visit running on. But Mostadaf has taken them apart for Jim Crowley and won the Neon Turf Cup by as much as 7. Back in second, Dubai Future. Racing in third was Flying Visit. Castle made late ground right in the ruck, missed the cut, had a torrid trip throughout.
As for Mr. Cut, it didn't go his way. He was keen with a poor trip, 3 or 4 wide, made a big move in the middle part of the race, could not sustain it. But have a look at the guys in blue here, particularly Crowley. He's disputing the lead at this point in the striped cap, and he says go. Mostadaf, gorgeous son of Frankel.
So was the Gosden trainee getting it done there? Getting it done pretty easily. I mean, the first 3 were well separated from each other in the pack as well. 7, 3, and 5, I believe. Hold your tickets. And Gosden's horse took some action late. Missed the cut, continued to be the favorite at 6-5, but the Gosden horse went down to 9-5 as the obvious second choice there. And you can see took the lead at the top of the stretch, and you weren't sweating, I think, if you had that one, as kind of pulled away and gets it done there in the Turf Cup and gets it done pretty easily. 7, 3, and 5. Dubai Future, the 3 went off at 8-1. The 5, Flying Visit, if you had that to complete your try at 55-1, that may help the try a little bit. Coming up, again, scheduled at 9:45 is the Turf Sprint. And I didn't mention this one earlier. Certainly going to be rooting for Casa Creed. Lee Einseidler, who we've had on the show with us up at Saratoga. Always like to root for Lee's horses. Bill Mott trains Luis Saez. Luis Saez, who yesterday, I think it was, with the time difference, about this time yesterday, they were in the midst of it, but won the Jockey Challenge over there. Luis Saez, nice trip over to Saudi, but he'll be on board. Casa Creed coming up, again, about 9:45 in the Turf Sprint, and we'll have that for you as well. But just wrapping up the Turf Cup with the John Gosden trainee Mustadef, if I came close to the correct pronunciation there, but we're 3 in, and we have 5 more to go, highlighted again at about 12:35 with the $20 million Saudi Cup. And again, you're invited to come down. Clubhouse Racebook is open. We opened our doors at 9 o'clock for folks who want to come down and enjoy the Saudi Cup action. We'd love to have you visit us here, join in the fun on this Saturday morning. 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, Seth Merrow again in the studio. I mentioned it earlier, our colleague Anthony Mormino on vacation with the family this week. I'm assuming enjoying much warmer temperatures where he is than we have in our area today, where it is quite frigid. So good on him. But we will plow through, hunker down. If you're not going to come down and enjoy us here at the Racebook, hunker down this morning. Should be a lot of fun going into the afternoon with some great racing. Part of that will be Oaklawn, and I thought I'd focus on some Oaklawn this morning with their very, very nice card. Again, we'll have Nancy Holthus on a little bit later from Oaklawn to talk about this more, and also Dick Powell to hit on some of the Saudi races. That'll come up at 10 o'clock. But the opener at Oaklawn today on this Saturday, we're looking at Arkansas bred maiden specials going 6 at Oaklawn in the opener today. I have a 3, 4, 9, and 6. Uncle Shorty's Girl on top. You know, with these Arkansas bred races, you don't jump in with a whole lot of confidence. But this one just showed enough in debut by outwork. There's a little bit of breeding. There was at least, the horse that was in front of this one was a next out winner. There was a little traffic for this horse. There were the kind of things you make check marks next to that say, this one worth taking a look at. And again, a relatively weak bunch in here. There was enough of those check marks to tilt slightly in the direction. Uncle Shorty's Girl on top. Indian Irish, a little more experienced, 3 tries. The last couple of tries have been as the beaten favorite. Debuted against Open Company as an Arkansas bred. Debuted in Open Company in November at Churchill. Showed some punch before fading to 5th in a field of 8. So it was a pretty good debut effort. Then came down here to Oaklawn, faced the state breds, hence the 2 short prices, 6-5 and 9-5 in the last couple of starts. The first start at Oaklawn in December was a pretty good close-up second. Last time was not a good effort. So, again, in a weak field, that last one I'm going to draw a line through because the first two were good enough, and so I can't ignore that. Third spot, Twinkling Irish, another one that put in a pretty good-looking debut. I debated putting this one on top because this horse came from the clouds in a field of 12, was sitting way back for much of the trip, and then came like a freight train to just miss. But you're always up against it a little bit when you have that running style, and we don't know, is that his running style, her running style, or was that a matter of the circumstances of the day? We'll find out a little more about this one. But if this horse does like to sit and wait and make the one run, you're up against it a little bit, particularly in a big field. You may have to find the right path. So again, I debated putting Twinkling Irish on top, but with the running style we've seen so far, I just thought, I'll be a little more cautious. In the opener at Oaklawn, 3, 4, 9, and 6. Race number 2 at Oaklawn this afternoon. We're looking at starter allowance types going 8.5 furlongs at Oaklawn in the second. I have it 8, 4, 6, and 3. Sakil on top. Nice win last time. That was off a little bit of a layoff from mid-November to mid-February. Churchill to Oaklawn, but came down to Oaklawn and won very nicely, and has shown some nice ability on this track before. I'm not sure it's quite enough to say horse for a course, but we're getting in that vicinity. 9 starts, 3 wins, a second and a third at Oaklawn, including that seasonal debut win just a couple of weeks ago. So I'll tilt in that direction. Second off the claim for Robertina Diodoro. Great Heart in the second spot. This one, claim 2 back by Jerry Hollendorfer, and then tried this company last time and ran a pretty good second place finish. With that one under the belt, certainly deserves strong consideration. Morning line favorite. My top pick is the second choice. I've just got him flip-flop from the morning line. I'm going to be interested to see where the betting public goes because I think talent-wise, these two are pretty close. Great Heart is coming out of a similar event, whereas Sakil, my top pick, is moving out of a claimer. So I'm curious to see where the betting public goes. Icarus in the third spot was behind Great Heart last time, again, in a similar event. That was off a little bit of a layoff. This horse, though, if you go down the page, has some pretty good efforts. Some of those were on turf, but the Churchill race in September that this horse was claimed out of, that would be good enough to win here. I'm intrigued to see what we get today in the second start of the season at Oaklawn. Arietta on board, who's riding well. In the second at Oaklawn, 8, 4, 3, and 6. Race number 3 at Oaklawn Park on Saturday afternoon. We are looking at optional claimers with a C condition, running for a modest $106,000. They're going to go 8.5 furlongs. Nice field here. I have it 8, 1, 5, and 3, and indicative of the nice field is the number 8 going out for Steve Asmussen. It's Max Player, steady string of stakes races as you go down the page, including a try in 2021 in the Saudi Cup. Didn't fare that well that afternoon, but you look, 2021 won the Suburban, came up to Saratoga, won the Jockey Club. Hasn't been seen since trying the Suburban last year, but I thought this was an interesting spot for Asmussen to debut the horse in his 6-year-old season. Again, there's some back class there, but this is a salty bunch. Frosted Grace for Robertina Diodoro. They claimed this horse 3 back. You would have to think they claimed, aiming for that claiming crown race that they subsequently went into. Showed something that day before fading and was kind of a flop off the claim, but has come back now off a little bit of a layoff, returned to or arrived at Oaklawn for the season and put in a good win, and a win that says might fit with this group, just having shown a nice affinity for the track. You might, question this one class-wise, not the conditions or whatnot, but in with this bunch, but I think it's going to fit okay. Third spot, Caddo River, again, familiar name on the stake side of things over his career. Now a 5-year-old and now in the barn of Wayne Lucas, was a Brad Cox runner through the career, but 10 exacta finishes in 16 starts, has shown some affinity for Oaklawn with 6 exacta finishes in 9 starts at Oaklawn. Last time just missed on the arrival here for the season. I think is very interesting again today. You also have Thomas Shelby in here. This is a fun, again, stakes quality field in the third at Oaklawn. Optional claim with the C condition for $106,000. I have it 8-1, 5-3. In the little Joe O'Brien there, it looks like. Fourth race at Oaklawn, I have it 8-6-1-2 on the stage on top. Second time starter from Steve Asmussen at 8-1, and we all know that the Asmussen runners are certainly eligible to improve in their second start. This one will have to, but I don't think that's out of the question. There's a little bit of breeding. Took some action in debut at 4-1. You know, wasn't getting crushed by any means, but obviously there was a little something there at 4-1. Had some traffic trouble. I think this one is very eligible to step forward here. I said Joe O'Brien. I said Joe O'Brien because he's accepting the trophy. That now I'm not exactly sure. I'm looking at the Saudi signal. So on the stage on top for me, and again, we may get a little bit of a price. Seeking Unity in the second spot, Ken McPeak trainee. Good close-up second in a much improved effort last time in the second start of the career. That was down at the fairgrounds, debuted at Keeneland in October. Been down at the fairgrounds working pretty well. They elect to take a shot up here, attracted my attention as well. And Tahoe Run, 5 starts already, 3 seconds, maybe a little camera shy, but seemed to put in a good effort last time. That lifetime best buyer. Again, maybe it was one of those light bulb type moments where this horse has just now kind of turned the corner and maybe ready to do something in career start number 6. We'll find out more about that today. But again, at 8-1 on the morning line, I like the Asmussen second time starter on the stage. Fourth at Oaklawn, 8-6-1-2. At Oaklawn in race number 5 this afternoon, allowance non-winners of 1 other than runners going for $104,000, 3/4 of a mile, 10, 5, 8, and 11. I'm going to put Go West on top. Brett Calhoun, trainee, has been racing over at Sam Houston for the past couple of starts and has been looking pretty good doing it. A couple of wins, including the latest, which was a triple-digit buyer. It seems like a little bit of an aberration. I think the lifetime best prior to that was the 90. The race just before the 100 buyer was at 84. So again, it's a little bit of an aberration, but that's okay. Even if we don't quite believe that, I mean, I think this horse can go back a few points and maybe still have an edge on this bunch. So Go West on top. Second spot, Skelly going out for Steve Asmussen. Ricardo Santana on board. Couple of starts so far at Oaklawn this season. First start had some trouble and just was kind of a no-show when the running started. And then last time, in a pretty fast 6 furlongs, was second in there. Well-beaten second, but also clear of the third place runner. I just think this one relatively lightly raced, and maybe there's still some upside there for Skelly. And in the third spot, Knocker Down goes out for Brad Cox. Another one with a couple of Oaklawn starts under the belt. 2 back ran pretty well. Last time was a little bit fractious and kind of lived up to that. Fractious at the gate and then just never participated. I'm focusing more on the 3 starts just before that, which I think bode well. And this horse, they also were ambitious enough to try the Steel Valley Sprint, the $250,000 race up at Mahoning in November. Ran a close-up second there. So they think the horse has talent. Again, you draw a line through that last race. The horse does have talent and might actually wind up being the one to beat with Irod Ortiz in town for the big day, scheduled to be on board. Fifth at Oaklawn, 10, 5, 8. and 11. Race number 6 this afternoon at Oaklawn. I have it 8, 2, 7, and 5. Beautiful bolt on top. Bolt d'Oro, very good sire, first out runners. Chris Hartman just having a really good meet down there. And this one is putting in some nice workouts that seem to tout this horse will be live in debut. So I'll put beautiful bolt on top. Flying Bessie in the second spot. An Asmussen trainee that is but knocking on the door, and probably number-wise as compared to the rest that have run in here, probably has the edge. Donnie ran a career debut number that matches up with Flying Bessie. So those two, as compared to the others, again, the others with experience, are probably the ones to lean towards. I went with the Asmussen runner, but I could also make a pretty solid case. Donnie, if this one benefits from the career debut, could be very, very tough in here this afternoon. Sharp Azteca is the sire of Sharp Attitude. Really like Sharp Azteca as a sire of win early types. This one almost lived up to it. Debuting in a little bit of a stakes race down at Turf Paradise. It was, I say, a little bit of a stakes race, $57,000 for Arizona breds. So Sharp Azteca showed a little talent in debut, 10-1 on the morning line. I would require that because I'm not sure how excited I am about an Arizona bred. But again, a little bit of breeding, and the horse almost lived up to that with a second in debut. The Sharp Attitude's at least interesting in here. More interesting the higher that price ticks, perhaps. And the 6th at Oaklawn, 8, 2, 5, and 7. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue with the Handicappers Report on this Saturday morning. And again, coming up at 9:45, our next Saudi race. We'll be plugging those Saudi Cup card races in throughout the morning. And the early afternoon, we'll have the $20 million Saudi Cup itself. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a few.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
This is a championship meet. All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them. And you get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
Come on!
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Seth Merrow in the studio. 7, 3, and 5 were the results. You can see on the scroll at the bottom, they're now showing payoffs there. 7, 3, 5 in that third. Fourth race again coming up. Fourth race is the Turf Sprint. I said it earlier. Always fun on these big international days to root for the Americans, but knowing Lee Einseidler, always happy to root for horses with folks I know. And so Casa Creed, the number 2 horse, 6-1 currently. The favorite in here is number 11, Songline, at even money. But do note, these two were bang, bang, that close, 1-2 in this race last year. Songline, the Japanese, the very talented Japanese runner, won last year. Casa Creed ran second. They're back again today to square off. Certainly, as I say, rooting for Casa Creed. But I will say at a price, 15-1, Raed, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but the number 7 horse comes in off a nice win in the local prep for this. So number 7, Interesting. Rooting for the number 2, Casa Creed. Number 11, Songline. Last year's winner is the favorite, but number 7 currently at 15-1. Intriguing to me in this upcoming 4th, the Turf Sprint in Saudi Arabia. And again, we're 10 minutes away from that. We will get you that live. In the meantime, I will continue looking at Oaklawn for today. The upcoming race in my sights is the 7th, which kicks off stakes action down in Arkansas this afternoon. The carousel for the ladies going 6 furlongs. I have it 10, 5, 7, and 11. I'm going to put Mercy Warren on top. Nice win, big win at the fairgrounds, excuse me, in the last start. And it was kind of an eye-popping, again, aberration. These are the kind of races, I mentioned it with one of the horses earlier, you need another race to kind of validate that big number. But boy, this horse did it in such a fashion. 16 length win. I'm kind of buying that maybe the horse just, again, had that light bulb moment to go to a career best, and they're not being overly ambitious. They're being properly ambitious to give this spot a try. Subsequently, that February 12th workout, best of 104, seems to indicate she has stayed on her toes. John Velasquez is in town. He'll take the ride on Mercy Warren. 8-1 on the morning line. We'll put Mercy Warren on top. Uguri in the second spot for Rudy Brissett. Big win here at Oaklawn off a long layoff. They had a lot of ambitions for this horse last year after she won the Fantasy right here at Oaklawn as a 3-year-old, and those ambitions took her to the Kentucky Oaks, where she set the early pace before fading pretty badly, and then went to the sidelines from that May 6th start until December 30th here at Oaklawn, and the comeback was a lifetime best buyer. So she just may be one of those I talk a lot about, lightly raced 2-year-olds, lightly raced 3-year-olds. They get that break, they come back, they can be improved. That seems to potentially be the case for Uguri, who was pretty good before she left. Pretty Birdie in the third spot, Norm Cassie trainee. This one goes out for the Mary Lou Whitney stables. So again, easy to root for with those kind of local connections, that local history involved. This one also a laid off from July until middle of December in the poinsettia here at Oaklawn. Took them all the way around to win pretty nicely, so I like Pretty Birdie as well. But we'll go for maybe a mild upset with Mercy Warren in the 7th at Oaklawn. The carousel, 10, 5, 7, and 11. Race number 8 at Oaklawn on this Saturday. It is optional claimer, non-winners at 2, 6 furlongs the trip. I have the 8th at Oaklawn, 6, 1, 8, and 7. Spankster on top. Wayne Lucas trainee. Has had a few starts, 3 starts so far at Oaklawn this season. They have been improving finishing position-wise, and they've been improving buyer number-wise. So I just think this horse, I always like that progression and kind of feel like maybe this one's primed for an even better effort this afternoon, and that would put this horse right in the thick of things. I'll tilt slightly in that direction. Flapjack, though, I think is a player coming off the nice win last time in a starter allowance, has plenty of early speed. That was shown 2 back with a front-end win as well. Claimed out of that one, moved into the starter allowance last time and did that successfully. I think is a nice fit with this bunch. Claimed by and won last time for the aforementioned Chris Hartman, who, if you haven't been paying attention to Oaklawn, just having a phenomenal season down there. And then El Bizu in the 3rd spot. Nice win at Oaklawn on arrival last time. 2 starts back in the middle of December, and then started the season the 8th of January. A little more disappointing. They were both in very similar races, so you can kind of go either way. I'm going to look for this horse, who I think is more consistently firing races closer to what we saw 2 back. I'm going to look for this one to get back to something more like that. In the 8th at Oaklawn, 6, 1, 8, and 7. Race number 9. Optional claimer, non-winners at 2, 6 furlongs the trip. I have it 4, 2, 9, and 10. I'm going to put Osborne on top. Skelly, we talked about Skelly earlier. Osborne finished in front of Skelly last time. Take a look. You may get a barometer with Skelly. If Skelly runs well, you may even want to upgrade Osborne. I don't know if you can upgrade too much. We're already looking at the 8-5 morning line favorite off of that nice win last time. Makes sense for Ron Maquette. Second slot, number 2, Golden Hornet. Relatively lightly raced 4-year-old for Larry Ravelli. Only 7 starts, but 3 wins and a second. One of those wins was last time at Oaklawn. Had been running Colonial, Saratoga, Hawthorne, Mahoning Valley. Also one of those that was in that Steel Valley Sprint, the $250,000 race. Then came down to Oaklawn. Good second and a win last time. So seems to have appreciated the Arkansas home cooking down there and is running well at Oaklawn. I would expect that to continue today. And in the third spot, Life is Hard. Also seemed to appreciate arriving at Oaklawn. Hadn't been seen since June at Churchill. Came down here, raced just under 3 weeks ago, 5th of February, and just missed off a nice layoff like that with a relatively quick turnaround, I will say. 3 weeks these days, that's relatively quick. And the big effort on the return, Life is Hard, 3-1 on the morning line. If this one starts to go too short, you have to wonder about the potential for a bounce. Has it had a couple of workouts since that February 5th start? One on the 13th, one on the 19th. They just seem to be maintenance workouts. But again, you could make the case that this is, as I say, a relatively quick turnaround. I have the horse in the mix, though, because, again, the 2 workouts, they seem to be, okay, maintenance. And so they've seen the horse. They know the horse. I'll put some trust in there. In the 9th at Oaklawn, 4, 2, 9, and 10. Got time for another one before we send you out to Saudi. The Honeybee, race number 10 at Oaklawn today. Grade 3 event. 3-year-old fillies going for $300,000, mile and a 16th. In the Honeybee, I have a 3, 2, 7, and 8. I'll put Grand Love on top. Steve Asmussen trainee that put in a really fabulous debut. Won at Saratoga, won very nicely. That then leads them to try the Pocahontas at Churchill and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly down at Keeneland. Wound up 3rd in the Pocahontas and 6th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. But again, a lightly raced 2-year-old, now some time off. This one certainly had demonstrated some talent. I'll see if we can get some value here for a horse that, if she comes back improved off that little bit of a layoff, now as a 3-year-old, could be interesting in here. Towhead comes in off a couple of wins, Maiden Breaker at Churchill, 2 back, and then a win on arriving at Oaklawn that was very good with a lifetime best buyer. And Wet Paint probably going to be the one to beat in here off a win in the Martha Washington for Brad Cox. Defining Purpose for Ken McPeak was 3rd behind Wet Paint that day. I think that one can be a player as well. Defining Purpose was the beaten favorite in the Martha Washington. But I'm going to go with Grand Love in the 3-year-old debut to maybe upset the apple cart a little bit. I will say Napoleon Pletcher bring New York-bred Gambling Girl into town, 12-1, Irad Ortiz. I'll probably, if that price holds up, probably put a couple of bucks on just because. On the number, seems a little slow, but with those connections and Irad, I wouldn't want to let a price sneak away. So, again, the 4 is intriguing. But in the 10th at Oaklawn, the Honeybee, I have a 3, 2, 7, and 8. All right, they're showing 1 minute to post, so we'll send you out to Saudi for the upcoming turf sprint. Again, Casa Creed going out for our friend Lee Einseidler. Bill Mott trains Luis Saez on board. Casa Creed at 5-1 is the number 2 horse, so we're rooting for number 2 certainly. Number 11 at 4-5, Songline, the Japanese runner. They ran 1-2 last year with Songline winning. And the horse I find very intriguing in here at a generous 17-1. Won the local prep for this, number 7. Again, Raid. We'll see how it is pronounced over there. But I think the 7 could be a player in here. So they're getting ready for post time here. Race number 4 in Saudi Arabia, the turf sprint. I'll send it there. I will come back and wrap things up with my thoughts for this afternoon's Oaklawn card on this edition of the Handicappers Report. Stay tuned.
Do the necessary. So, horses behind the gate. 4, race 4, 5:45, 1,351 meters. And don't forget the 1, because it could be very valuable. Casa Creed could have done with another 1 last year, couldn't he? Another 3 or 4, and he may well have won. They're nearly all in. The favorite goes in. Hot favorite Songline. Maybe 4 or 5 to go. I like the look of Songline. I like the look of Bathrat Leon. I think Casa Creed is bound to come calling late. They are nearly all in for race 4, 5:45. The sun gradually setting, but will it be the land of the rising sun here, Rachel? With Songline, hot favorite for the 13:51 turf sprint. Richard Hoyles, the man to call.
They're off and racing 30:51 sprint. Songline not the best away and just rustled up early. Fastest out Resistencia and also Bathrat Leon, the Japanese pair. Behind these, Lusail adopts a handy position. Garrus just crosses over to the running rail where Happy Romance trying to hold the spot. Pogo just trying to get in, and Rosgar is posted wide as they make their way with 1,100 meters to travel. Bathrat Leon and Resistencia, they have the lead. Lusail tracks those. Garrus on the inside running rail, and right at the back of the field is Happy Romance in company with also Raed. So they make the turn, passing the 800. Bathrat Leon has the lead from Resistencia. Rosgar posted 3 wide. Lusail and Pogo the next 2. From in 6th place, Lauda Seon racing in the pale blue. A tough trip for Casa Creed, who's coming round the houses. Happy Romance pulls outside Garrus, and then behind these, Songline with work to do. And last of all, as they turn in, is Raed. Bathrat Leon still sitting pretty out in front. Resistencia with 400 to travel, tries to move up. Then Lusail, Casa Creed down the outside. Then behind these, pushed along is Happy Romance. Bathrat Leon continuing to hang tough. Casa Creed, Lusail, and then Resistencia. Raed down the outside, but Bathrat Leon is keeping up the gallop. Casa Creed trying to reel in the leader, but it's Bathrat Leon from Casa Creed who's coming again, but once again may just have been denied. Bathrat Leon, Casa Creed, Happy Romance, Raed for the places with Resistencia, Lusail, Rosgar. Songline missed the break, never showed this year. Behind those was Garrus, Lauda Seon towards the back, and Pogo.
This is desperate. I don't want to preempt this.
It could be the 1 yard.
Yes, the last meter. It's 1 and 2. I think it's 1. I think we can call that the Bathrat Leon has blazed and he's held on gamely. Your heart goes out to Connections of Casa Creed. Of course, they'll pick up a fat check again. But to be beaten in 2 photo finishes to this race is hard to bear. It looks as if 7, Raed has run a screamer for the home team, ahead of 9, Happy Romance, Resistencia and Lusail. That's a sad sight to see Songline run such a dull race there. She did miss the break. She got a much tougher trip than last year, but she clearly wasn't the same filly who came 12 months ago. By contrast, Bathrat Leon, a blazer, a global blazer, has shown brazen speed and bags of courage. What do you make of it?
I think it was absolutely brilliant, and considering the fact that Bathrat Leon has never raced over this short of a distance before, 1,400 meters has been the shortest he's ever run over. The stamina in here has just shown how quick they've gone. 2 horses who have proper group high-level form over a mile have come to the fore here in this turf sprint.
Yoshito Yahagi is an absolute wizard with international travelers.
And with fashion.
Yes.
His fashion choices with his hats are 100% on par.
We'll pick the trainer up in a moment, but here's the race. The writing is on the wall for Songline here. A slow start, forced to switch outside. Not ideal, but she still didn't fire much of a shot in the straight. The grey horse Garrus is off the bridle. On the outside, Casa Creed gets a better run through than 12 months ago and stays on heroically. But look at this horse, Bathrat Leon. He gets the inside rail. He just keeps battling when challenged. Last year, he won the Godolphin Mile at 66-1, rolling on the dirt. He went to England for the Sussex Stakes. He went to France for a big mile race. He's run well twice in Japan since. He's versatile on surface, trip. His run style is there for all to see. Luis Saez on Casa Creed, I think he knows that he's come up just short. By contrast, although he's quiet and composed, Ryusai Sakai, I think he knows he just done enough to hold off. This is a great head-on shot.
Oh, our friend Lee Einsiler. That was brutal. Very easy to follow. His pink silks there. And Casa Creed coming around the turn had nice momentum as they turn into the stretch. I thought he's going to sail right along. And then Batra Leon, the one horse who had the lead, gutsy, kept going. But still, Casa Creed, again, made another nice surge at the end and comes up. You could see it in the slow. Live, I thought, oh, this is Bing Bing. You could see it in their super slow-mo that Casa Creed had come up, just short. That is a brutal beat for Casa Creed, Lee Einsiedler, Bill Mott, and Luis Saez. But again, gutsy performance by Bathrat Leon. And I think the 7 horse, who I liked at the price, I think he ran 3rd in there. Yeah, right? Yeah. Again, 22-1. That was rough. But that 2 years in a row. I mean, 2 great performances for flying halfway around the world. Casa Creed, just some nice horse for Lee Einsiedler, no question about it. But so rough to come up short like that. All right, let's get back to Oaklawn and get back to the stakes action with race number 11, the highlight of the day, the Rebel 3-year-olds for $1 million. Gotta love that. Grade 2 event, 8.5 furlongs. I'm going to go 4, 1, 3, and 5. I think Gun Pilot could be very intriguing here for Asmussen. As son of Gun Runner, lived up to that with 2 wins in 3 career starts. The first win at Churchill in November was a nice win visually, but the number was a little light with the 67. Subsequently ran second to Verifying, and only the 2nd career start, and did it with an 88 buyer, and then came down to Oaklawn and got through the next condition nicely with the 87 buyer. So the buyer in the debut is a little light. Subsequent buyers are right there for this time of year for a 3-year-old to be legit. Only the 4th career start, steps into stakes company, and is once again going to have to face off with Verifying. I put Verifying underneath. As I say, Verifying beat Gun Pilot back in January. That was the seasonal debut and the last start for Verifying. Gun Pilot has subsequently put in another start, but Verifying off of that win in the middle of January for Brad Cox and company, the one to beat. That was a pretty good-looking performance. That was a very good-looking performance. A 97 buyer. As I say, he'll be the one to beat. I just thought Gun Pilot being lightly raced, maybe some upside, will take a shot there. Red Route 1, another Asmussen runner. Boy, a big closing effort in the Southwest to be a very good second in there at 15-1. Touts Red Route 1 as an interesting player. And Giant Mischief for Brad Cox off the 2nd in the Springboard Mile, I think is intriguing as well. But I could point to another 2 or 3 that are interesting and could make a little noise in here. Reincarnate comes in from Southern California, having been a Bob Baffert trainee, now going out for Tim Yakteen. So, how much of that Baffert training is still holding, and we know how well Baffert horses have done coming to Oaklawn over the past few years. So, Reincarnate intriguing as well. But for me, in the Rebel at Oaklawn, I have it 4, 1, 3, and 5. And that'll go off our time at about 6:20 this evening. So keep that in mind. And we'll wrap it up at Oaklawn in the 12th race. Again, Arkansas Breds, maiden specials going 6. I have a 10, 4, 7, and 2. Time and Beyond. A couple of starts last year, and notable improvement, start 1 to start 2. But it was also with a move from Keeneland to Oaklawn. Again, this is an Arkansas bred. So debuted at Keeneland in a maiden special against Open Company, and then came down to Oaklawn to face the Arkansas bred. So it was some experience. It was moving in against the state breds, but the combination of those gave this one a pretty close-up second-place finish that fired a number that matches up. Lightly raced, still should have some room to move forward. We'll put Time and Beyond on top. Table money going out for Steve Asmussen. A little bit of win early, perhaps. Arkansas breeding here. Workouts aren't giving a hint one way or the other, but going out for some of Asmussen's among the main clients he has, the Hillenbrats, and wouldn't be surprised to see this one run well in debut against the State Breds. And then Midnight Taxes in the third spot. 4 starts so far. They have all been against open company because they've all been in Southern California, and they've all been okay. Now comes into Oaklawn for Chris Hartman. First time gelding, first time Lasix, first time against Arkansas Breds. Midnight Taxes becomes very dangerous. In the 12th and final at Oaklawn, 10-4, 7-2. All right, I'll wrap it up. We'll take a couple of minutes before we fire up for Racing Across America at the top of the hour. Once again, a reminder, we are open here at the Clubhouse Racebook. Our doors opened at 9 a.m. If you'd like to come down to watch the Saudi Cup action, you are invited. So keep that in mind for the rest of the morning. And if you're hunkered down at home, stay tuned. Top of the hour, we will kick off Racing Across America. We'll talk some Saudi Cup action with our friend Dick Powell. He did the morning line for the Saudi Cup. We'll get some of his ideas on these remaining 4 big stakes races coming up. A little bit later on, we'll be joined by Nancy Holthus. She'll give us her ideas on the Oaklawn action for today. And again, all of that coming up at the top of the hour. In the meantime, again, we'll take a little break. We'll reset and be back for Racing Across America shortly. Stay tuned.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.